Well, Logan, jurors in the Boston bombing trial begin deliberating this morning after Monday's closing arguments. In their final argument, prosecutors accused Joe Carr of having been equally involved in coordinating the attacks with his brother Tamerlan. The defense followed up with the argument that Tamerlan was the real mastermind, his younger brother just a willing accomplice. The jury must use Monday's closing statements and the 16 days of testimony to choose the side they believe. If Tsarnaev is convicted of planning and executing the attacks, the same jury will have to decide whether Joe Carr should receive the death penalty or life in prison without parole. Tsarnaev is charged with a total of 17 counts related to the bombings and the following manhunt that could bring him the death penalty. And Phi Kappa Psi at the University of Virginia has declared Monday it will pursue all legal action against Rolling Stone magazine. The fraternity's announcement comes 4 months after the publication of the article, A Rape on Campus. The story, written by a University of Virginia student, gave a graphic account of being gang raped at a Phi Kappa Psi frat party in 2012. Contradictions came out regarding the facts of the article soon after it was published. Phi Kappa Psi even denied having a party on the night Jackie said she was assaulted. The magazine apologized for the article in November and asked the Columbia School of Journalism to analyze the article to see what went wrong. On Sunday, the 3-person Columbia team released a 12,000-word report that detailed the faults of the article, calling it a story of journalistic failure. Phi Kappa Psi has yet to make a formal decision on when they will initiate a lawsuit. And President Obama says Iran should not have to recognize Israel as a part of the nuclear agreement being negotiated by the U.S. and its allies, calling the idea a fundamental misjudgment. The U.S., Iran, and other world powers are currently discussing a framework agreement that would slow down Iran's nuclear development in exchange for a lift on some international sanctions. Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu publicly opposed the framework agreement, claiming it would be a threat to his country's survival. President Obama says the U.S. must prioritize curbing Iranian nuclear development because the U.S. cannot count on the nature of their government changing. Senator Mitchell McConnell is skeptical that an agreement with, quote, the leading state sponsor of terror will actually be effective. And an expert panel organized by Governor Charlie Baker will not ask Congress to invest more money in the MBTA. In a report set to be released this week, the panel blamed the MBTA for, quote, limited cost control, low labor productivity, and high maintenance costs. The shift to focus on reforming the organization is likely to receive criticism from the many people who think the solution to the struggling MBTA are pricey repairs and renovations. The Boston Globe reported the MBTA's operating costs to be growing about 5% each year, finding that the T's maintenance costs are among the highest of all cities in the country. Raising taxes and rehiring management are still being argued for, while Baker's panel gets ready to present its cost control plan. And a new action report on the Boston Marathon bombings was released Friday, giving the public new details on how law enforcement responded. According to the report by the Mass Emergency Management Agency, some police officers showed a lack of weapons discipline during the Watertown shootout with the Tsarnaev brothers. The report says the first responding officers behaved appropriately, but officers who arrived later on the scene neglected to line up their targets or aim their weapons carefully. The report also revealed that transit police officer Richard Donahue was critically wounded in the Watertown Street confrontation. However, it does not detail who fired the shot. Another officer also mistakenly fired at a fellow officer's unmarked vehicle after a false stolen vehicle report. The officer inside the car was not harmed. When Joe Carr was found later on that same day inside the boat, an officer fired his weapon, causing a round of fire from fellow officers who thought that Joe Carr was firing at police. The report did commend the immediate medical response to the bombings because, although 3 died, all other victims that were taken to hospitals survived. Mayor Marty Walsh released a statement in response to the report saying the lessons learned from the bombings can be used to drastically improve our emergency response protocols. That's all the news I have for you today. Back to Logan and Maggie at the desk.